Step back for a second, because this is where the whole thing finally makes sense. When you buy Tesla, you are not really buying a car company. You're buying a lottery ticket on three enormous bets. Bet 1 is robo-taxis, fleets of self-driving cars earning money around the clock with no driver to pay. Bet 2 is Optimus, a humanoid robot Tesla wants to build by the millions. Bet 3 is the artificial intelligence that would power both. And this isn't just a vibe. One Wall Street analyst estimated that the robo-taxi and the robot, two products that generate essentially $0 in sales today, account for around 75% of Tesla's entire trillion-dollar value. Read that one more time. 3/4 of what you pay for is products that don't really sell anything yet. Here's the cleanest proof of what Tesla has become. In late 2025, shareholders approved a new pay package for Elon Musk that could be worth up to $1 trillion, the largest in corporate history. But he only collects if he hits a wild set of targets. The company has to reach an $8.5 trillion value. It has to put 1 million robo-taxis on the road. It has to deploy 1 million robots. Notice what's missing from the headline of that deal. It's barely about selling cars at all. That's the answer to the paradox we started with. A company that almost died building cars is now worth a fortune precisely because the market has stopped pricing it as a company that builds cars. So, do you want to own Tesla? Then be honest about what that means. You are not buying the steel and the factories and the cars rolling off the line. Those barely justify the price. You're buying a promise that one man can turn a car company into a robotics and AI empire before the competition, the politics, or the math catches up with him. If he's right, the people holding the stock today look like geniuses. If he's wrong, they're holding the most expensive car company on Earth at the exact moment it stopped being the best one. Tesla's whole history is the same move on repeat. Get to the edge of disaster, build a tent in the parking lot, and bet the entire company on the future arriving on time. It worked when they were weeks from death. The only question that matters now is whether it still works when they're worth $1 trillion. Because the easiest way to lose a fortune is to keep betting like you've got nothing left to lose. If you want to understand Tesla in one sentence, here it is. Tesla makes a little money selling cars, a quiet fortune selling credits to its rivals, and an enormous amount of money selling investors a story about the future. That last part is the engine, because the cars and the credits explain how Tesla stays alive. They don't explain why it's worth more than the next 20 automakers combined. For that, you have to understand what people are actually buying when they buy Tesla. If you're getting something out of this, take a second to subscribe. We break down the real economics behind the world's biggest companies every week. Now let's get to the part that breaks the whole car company idea apart. So with $1 trillion valuation and credits flowing in, why would owning a piece of Tesla still be a wild gamble? Start with what's actually going wrong in the car business right now. Tesla's profit didn't grow in 2025. It fell off a cliff, dropping about 46% from the year before. The price cuts Tesla used to move cars crushed its margins. The profit on each vehicle, stripped of credits, fell from a peak of around 27% down to roughly 15%. And the credits themselves, that beautiful free money, are starting to dry up as emissions rules loosen in the United States and other automakers build their own electric cars. Then there's the competition. For more than a decade, Tesla was the undisputed king of electric vehicles. In 2025, that ended. The Chinese company BYD sold about 2.26 million electric cars, blowing past Tesla's 1.64 million. The crown is gone. And there's the part you can't put on a spreadsheet. Elon Musk's politics. His move into government work and his political endorsements triggered protests, boycotts, and vandalism against Tesla around the world in 2025. The brand took real damage. One major brand valuation firm marked Tesla's brand value down by about 26% in a single year. In parts of Europe, Tesla sales didn't just dip, they fell by 45% or more in early 2025, even as electric car sales overall were climbing. So you've got falling sales, shrinking margins, vanishing credits, fresh competition, and a CEO who is also the brand's biggest risk. On paper, this is a company you'd run from. Instead, it's worth more than ever. Why? So that's the money trick. Now the survival story, because none of this almost happened at all. Rewind to 2017 and 2018. Tesla was trying to launch the Model 3, its first car for normal people, priced around $35,000. This was the bet the company moment. To make the math work, Tesla needed to build 5,000 of them a week. It kept missing. Badly. The assembly line was so over-automated that the robots were actually slowing things down, and Elon Musk later admitted he had to rip them out. Meanwhile, the cash was pouring out the door. In 2017 alone, Tesla burned through about $3.4 billion. Musk later described this entire stretch as production and logistics hell, and it nearly ended the company. In late 2018, Musk sat down for an interview and was asked how close Tesla came to dying. His answer was chilling in how specific it was. He said, within single-digit weeks. On 60 Minutes around the same time, he put real numbers on it. He said the company was losing $50, sometimes $100 million a week, and simply running out of money. The most valuable car company in history was, by its own CEO's account, about a month from bankruptcy. How did it survive? Tesla did something no normal automaker would. It built an entire extra production line inside a giant tent in the parking lot of its Fremont, California factory. It went up in 3 weeks. People laughed at it, but it worked, output jumped, and Tesla finally hit that 5,000 per week target. By the end of 2018, the company posted a real profit and had cash in the bank again. It clawed back from the edge. And then the stock did something nobody expected. For most of Tesla's life, the answer was uncomfortable. It didn't come from cars. Think about how a normal car company makes money. You build a car for, say, $40,000 in parts and labor. You sell it for $50,000, you pocket the difference. Do that millions of times, and you have General Motors. Simple. Tesla does that too, but for years, the margin on each car was razor thin, and in plenty of years, the whole company lost money outright. Tesla didn't post its first full year of profit until 2020. That's 17 years after it was founded. So how did it survive, and how did it finally turn that first profit? Here's the part most people have never heard. Governments around the world hand out something called regulatory credits to companies that build zero-emission cars. Tesla builds nothing but zero-emission cars, so it earns these credits basically for free, just for existing. Then it turns around and sells them to the old gas-powered automakers, the ones who can't hit emissions targets and need to buy their way into compliance. And here's the kicker. That credit money costs Tesla almost nothing to produce. There's no factory, no steel, no shipping. It's nearly pure profit. Now look at 2020, that first profitable year everyone celebrated. Tesla made about $720 million in profit. Sounds great. But that same year, it sold over $1.5 billion worth of regulatory credits. Sit with that. The profit was less than half the credit money. Strip the credits out, and Tesla's celebrated first profitable year was actually a loss. Ford and GM were quite literally paying Tesla's bills. And this didn't stop. In 2024, Tesla's credit revenue hit a record of $2.76 billion. The competition was funding the company that was trying to put them out of business. Okay, so you want to own Tesla. Today it's one of the most valuable companies in history, so surely it just prints money. Easy business to own. But here's the strange part. In 2018, Tesla was reportedly weeks away from going broke. The same company that's now worth around $1 trillion was once so close to collapse that its own CEO said it was bleeding money and barely surviving. It nearly died, then became one of the most valuable companies ever built. And the gap between those two facts is the whole story. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how Tesla almost died, where the money really comes from now, why the obvious profits still aren't the point, and why Tesla isn't really the business most people think it is. So before we get to how Tesla almost died, you have to understand how strange the company looks today, because the numbers genuinely do not add up. In late 2025, Tesla was worth around $1.4 trillion. To put that in perspective, picture every other big car company on the planet lined up on a lot. Toyota, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, Ford, General Motors, Honda, Hyundai, Ferrari, BYD, all of them. Take the 20 largest automakers in the world and add their entire stock market value together, and you still land below Tesla. One company, sitting alone, worth more than the next 20 combined. Now here's where it gets weird. Those 20 companies are not small. Together, they pull in something like 23 times more revenue than Tesla does. Toyota alone sells close to 10 million cars a year. And Tesla? In 2025, Tesla delivered about 1.64 million cars. Not only is that a fraction of what the giants move, it was actually down almost 9% from the year before, the biggest drop in the company's history. So, picture it. A car company selling fewer cars than last year, making less money than last year. In 2025, its revenue slipped to about $95 billion, and its actual profit was under $4 billion. General Motors earns more per vehicle than Tesla does, but General Motors trades at around 8 times its earnings, the boring, sensible price of a normal car company. Tesla trades at over 300 times. Read that again. The market looks at a shrinking car business and prices it like the most exciting company in the world. Which leaves us with one obvious question. If the cars aren't the story, then where does Tesla's money actually come from?